You're listening to Selling the Dream. This isn't an interview, and we're not journalists, but each week we'll ask our guests to open up and share their secrets to business success. Let's have a conversation and have some fun.
Hey everybody, welcome to Selling the Dream. We have a wonderful show for you today. We are super excited to have on a guest who was such a great guest the last time we decided to have him on again. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time getting into it, but before we start, just want to say hello to my co-host, Joe Iredell. Joe, what's happening, bro?
KJ, another day, another beautiful day, man. Ready to get this thing rocking.
It's like 80 degrees here. It feels like this must be what you're used to.
Normally what we would be used to, we've had quite a winter of rain and not the best, but it is seemingly back to normal here too. It's beautiful, 80 degrees, and not too upset to pay the California sunshine tax anymore, man. It's nice. So
that's easy for you to say. We got 80 degree weather here. We got the Broad Street run next week, so I just got done a run. Barely could tell, can you, with that hair? Look at that. See, for those people that don't know, the Broad Street run is a 10-mile run from North Philly to South Philly. It's straight. It's downhill. It's a nice, easy run. So me and Amy are going to run it next weekend. So we're super excited.
Do they still have – this is completely unrelated question, but I haven't been back to Philly in a while. Do they still have cabs in Philly, or is it mostly all Ubers now? Having nothing to do with your run, man. That's not why I thought of that, but –
no, I usually catch an Uber somewhere near Temple, and I get out somewhere near the stadium.
They're less conspicuous. Yeah. All right.
Let's bring our guy on, Jay Doran, one of the MVPs of Selling the Dream podcast. Great guest, and also makes so many introductions for us, for guests on the show, and just as always, an awesome guy to talk to and have on. So, Jay, thanks for joining us again, my man.
Oh, my pleasure.
Big update since the last time you were on. Big life event, Jay. What happened since the last time we talked?
Well, I made a couple sales. No,
yeah.
Is this
one of the biggest sales of your life?
Yeah, is this right? The two truths and a lie yet, or
no? We're not there yet. We're not there. This is.
Yeah, I mean, we moved to. I'm starting to tell people about this because for a couple of years, I really didn't want anyone to know where we lived, which we can unpack maybe in part 3, therapy with Jay. But I wasn't even checking in. But we moved to the west side of Florida from the east side. I don't think I ever. We didn't become a part of the community on the east side of Florida. But we moved to Naples, and I think his name was Ruben, who actually helped us with our vows. We went to the local city hall and stood before Ruben, I think that's his name, because I might name a dog after this guy. And got
Ruben
emotional.
A scuba instructor by any chance?
The in-laws flew down and very intimate interaction. I haven't done that before, so we're married officially. Are you guys Lord of the Rings fans?
Got my ring now, but.
It says one ring to rule them all. I think I've already asked you this. Yeah. I have one ring to bind them. I got my Lord of the Rings inscription in there. I'm very happy about it. But yeah, so we live in Naples now. Unbelievable. The air is clean. I think it's 1 in 100 or 500 in 100,000 homicide rate. Fairly safe. And
I don't know. Is that I don't have a frame of reference. I'm assuming that's
let's not compare
one is too many, but that's all good.
Yeah, average age is 66 and a half. Best schooling in the country.
As long as you're not the one.
Very happy. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
You bet, man. Let's start with a quote. I always let this is something you do on your show that I absolutely love. So when we have you on, I like to reciprocate and honor Culture Matters podcast. If anybody hasn't had a chance to listen to it, every episode brings just value. So jump on there and check it out. But it's from 30 Days of Thought. Life is a give and take. Life is nothing but a give and take. The intent to give without expectation combined with the willingness to take reparations. Why is it so important to be willing to take in this world? Why is that? Why is that so important? We're going to dive into that in a few minutes. But before we do that, Joe, we always play Two Truths and a Lie. Last time we had Jay on, we were not doing the Two Truths and a Lie yet. So we're going to start our podcast today with Two Truths and a Lie. We're going to wrap up and see if you can figure out which one was the lie. Now, Jay is not good at lying, so he says this one's going to be an easy one for you.
That could be the lie, though. You don't know. See,
it could be. It could be.
Master class in lying, and he's already set us up. So let's see.
Give us 3 statements. 2 of them have to be true and 1 has to be false, and we'll try and figure out which one it is.
This is a great introduction to a podcast. I'm sorry. Culture Matters, and I love my wife.
All right. That's that's a setup.
Hold on a second.
Nice job. All right, we'll come back. We'll come back to that at the end of the episode. Well done. All right, so let's jump into it, man. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about give and take, especially in light of your recent marriage, and Joe is married. I'm married. The relationship, the partnership with your spouse is in so many ways similar to the partnership you have with friends. It's similar to the partnership you have with business associates, and it is give and take. But I've always struggled. I think a lot of people struggle with the whole second part of that equation, the willingness to receive is a tough thing. So let's talk about that, Jay. Why did you write that chapter?
I think because I struggle with it, even if I wasn't aware at the time, because a lot of what that book is a meditation of things that I'm working on. Some aware that I'm working on them, some less so. I think I've always struggled with the take. I mean, the C in Culture Matters stands for collaboration, give first, intend to help, and get started today. I think it's taken years for me to even recognize how bad I am at the get started today part, asking for something back. Ironically, I don't think that necessarily infers that I don't take. I've taken so much, from people, like not even trying to, not being in a position to fully give. So I think the reason that I wrote, I think I struggle with that. And at the same time, in other contexts, you might run across people that would say to you, oh no, Jay's really good. He's so good, he thinks he's bad. So I guess it depends who you ask, who you want to talk to, my enemies or people that consider themselves my friends. But I think that I had to learn how to say no more at one point. If you go to towards the back of the book, there's saying no to the homeless. It's a metaphor for creating boundaries, for standing up for oneself, having an honest conversation with oneself through the metaphor of the homeless, or maybe quite literally, that would be somebody that is without home that I could easily lie to or avoid or kind of just like not pay attention to. But I would like actually put myself in this position to say no, like to look at somebody and say, hey, I'm Jay. What's your name? Like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm sorry if that hurts you. And then I went from that psychology, trying to like create a level of boundaries and be able to not be self-deceiving and avoid the conflict, to now it's like, man, I better give, I've gone from the no to the radical yes. And, it's like knowing when to switch one on and one off, and when is the right time to say no and when is the right time to say yes. So I think that's what comes up when you ask me that question about taking. It's like, well, it's also, is it taking or is it accepting? Like, how much value have I actually given? Why am I not asking? Do I even know how much value I've given or not given? That opens up another part of the conversation. But I think I was writing that because it's something I've struggled with, is standing up for myself, speaking my mind, creating, boundaries. So that would be my immediate thought on it.
Joe, let me ask you a question. As we're talking about this give and take, and I know, Jay, you probably read, what was it, Berger's book, The 5 Laws of Stratospheric Success, The Go-Giver. Have you read The Go-Giver?
Yeah, I've listened to it.
So the 5th law is the law of receptivity, the law of willingness to receive. Why, Joe? Why would that be one of the 5 most important things? Like, in your mind, and I have my answer, and I'm not, I'll share in a minute. But why do you think it's so important to be willing to receive?
Because for me, I've actually struggled with this too, and I think anybody who's driven and like I think it becomes like an egotistical thing, where it's like you don't want to ask for help. You want to be like, I can handle this. I don't need anybody's help. I'm going to do this. And I started to feel like I'm putting people out by accepting their help in my world. And actually what was happening, and I was still struggling with this too, but like by denying someone's offer to help you, or by refusing to ask someone to help you with a certain thing that they could be good at, you're denying their gift that they give to the world and they could be giving to you. So it becomes so one-sided that you're like, if you're just, I'm the driver, I'm gonna do this, and I'll take care of you and you and you and you, and you don't let someone reciprocate that and take care of you back or take care of other people, then it's chaos. Like nothing gets accomplished, and you're denying someone else their chance to feel good about themselves for helping somebody else. So that's what I've come to understand. But it's so uncomfortable for me, even for the dumbest things. Like Joey had a birthday party we had on the beach, whatever. My neighbor, we like share a garage, right? There's a cooler in there. We needed a cooler, right? I've let him he borrows all of my stuff, no problem. I don't even think about it. I'm like, yeah, you have it. And it was so difficult for me to send a text to him like, hey man, can I borrow your cooler? Like, I just didn't want to do it because I'm like, I don't want to ask. I don't put him out. Like, maybe he needs it, like this kind of stuff. And he was psyched because like all of the times that like we're always, I'm lending him stuff. How about, like, he was really excited to like reciprocate that. And for some reason, for me, I was just like, dude, like, it's so uncomfortable for me to ask people for stuff like that. But, I try to get over it. I'm like, this guy is like excited that he just was able to help out, like, don't deny him. So
I think you hit on the main point for me is, the best thing you can do for someone sometimes is to let them give you something. They want to, especially the people we love. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
We're so willing to like do someone a favor, but we don't want to ask for a favor. I think that one of the best things you can do is to ask for a favor, because then you just open up an opportunity for someone who cares about you to do something for you and make them feel good about it. Like, there's this like debit system that people don't want to be in debt to anyone, whether it's in money and favor. But I just think that, as long as you're honest with yourself about the fact that you're giving as openly as possible, and as many opportunities to make deposits into other people's worlds and for the good, then I think that the next step is to then give them the opportunity to give too, because we all know how good it feels to give. I will tell you, there's nothing better than when my brother needs a hand with something and he calls me. Number one, I'm honored that I'm the one he called. It means he can count on me, right? Number two, I get to go kind of spend some time with him in that situation, but really help him, and he doesn't even realize all the things he's done for me over the years, because like you said, he's got a gift of, he's handy, he's an electrician. And there are times where something that would take me hours takes him 20 minutes. He doesn't chalk that up as a huge favor. He doesn't know, in my world, that was huge for me, Yeah. And I think that, that's where the balance kind of really, like, it's hard to measure it all out. So you just got to be willing to give as much as possible, and then be willing to receive too.
Yeah. Well, this goes to Jay's point too. So to be able to get people comfortable with asking you for stuff and vice versa is that if you have clear boundaries, if you tell people no all the time, I think that they're more willing to ask, because they know that if it's inconvenience to you, you're not just going to do it begrudgingly. You'll be like, nope, I can't do that. So like, that's another like really good benefit of just being very clear in your boundaries and letting people know, like what's appropriate, that like what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. But if you don't ask, the worst, how many times have you heard someone be like, oh, I got a flat tire, or like had a bad day or whatever. And like, you're just like, dude, I was right there. Why didn't you just call me? Like, we could have fixed this, like no problem. And like, so that happens a lot too. So it's definitely, it's not easy. It's really you have to almost check your ego and ask for help, and trust that the person hopefully has set boundaries and is willing to tell you no. And then that's when it's like you have to trust your instincts of like feeling people out. Like, are they doing it like because they feel they have to, or do they want to, or like, you know what I mean? So like, that's kind of a weird thing too. But
I was more of a taker when I didn't listen.
Okay.
Roger that. Roger that.
I'm listening.
I see what you did there.
So wrapped up. Yeah, I was so wrapped up in the euphoria of my vision and where I was trying to go and how quickly I could get there. And I wasn't doing it on purpose, but people were a means to my end for sure. And I don't consider myself a bad person in that, right? I don't think it's like the unintentional asshole. And I think I've won a couple awards for that. And in fact, and I don't think it's even fair to put this in a past tense, because I have my own agenda, right? Why am I doing this show? I have an agenda. I want to get better at talking again. I feel like I'm a baby in a womb, coming out of the womb, and I need to learn how to crawl before I walk before I run before I fly. And then, but I'm more conscious now. It's like, I'm more conscious of the both of you. I'm more conscious of the listeners. I'm not just going to let myself go into an emotional temporal distortion where time and space stop, and this turns into a therapy session for me where I'm just rambling on about culture for 47 minutes. So yeah, I'm better at taking now, I think, because I'm more aware of when I'm giving versus when I'm taking. And I think the shows help me with it. Performing the journalistic endeavor, preparing, catching myself when I want to interject. So those are some thoughts. What do you think, Ken? You seem like you've deeply in thought.
I was doing the head nod, like, oh, I got something to say. So it's hard. It's difficult. I get, yeah. It's like we all need this practice of, of giving, not just giving someone else a chance to talk, for crying out loud, right? Like, I do, it's an awareness. What practice, what can we, what are some of the things you've done that our listeners could do to be more aware of their giving and taking? The unintentional asshole to me means the person who's just not aware of the the reciprocal relationship, or the balance / imbalance, or if there is an imbalance. I mean, are there things that we can do to be more aware of that? Or where do you think you've gotten your awareness from?
Oh, I think part of it is if I see it in someone else, if I think that's what it is in someone else, I'm going to separate them from the group and I'm going to tell them what I think about them. Respectfully. And if they are upset with that, I need to make sure not to be mean to them if they're mean to me. So it's two wrongs don't make a right. So like that's been a good practice, is telling people what I think about their behavior in a respectful way that decreases the likelihood of them being shamed or feeling shame in a group setting. And I think some of it or a big part of it is the practice of the interviews has helped me slow down and be more present and kind of see the whole chessboard at a greater width. I mean, these are we're developing executive presence when we do these shows relative to how we do them, or in respect to how we do them, right? Preparation, engagement, the note taking that I do now that I didn't do in the past. I want to become not only a stronger, let's say a more courageous person. I want to be a more successful advisor. I want to be a more successful business owner. And this practice has helped me be those things, I believe. So those are two examples, right? Seeing something in someone else that I don't align with, and depending on the relationship, like, maybe talking about it. That might sound awkward.
Well, it takes courage to do, and it also you really do have to hold yourself to a higher level of accountability if you're going to, respectfully and tastefully, if you're going to call someone else out and say, okay, here's what I'm seeing in you, and risking the reaction because you don't really know how it's going to happen. Like, of course, that takes courage, but it also takes a pretty high level of accountability on your part to say, okay, if I'm going to take this on, this responsibility of letting someone know when their behavior is not in line with where you think it should be, or with you, then you better be sure you're kind of walking the walk, right?
I mean,
that plays into it at all?
Well, I don't think I'm going to walk the walk in a straight line, because I'm not. So meaning, how open am I to feedback myself? And why would I want anyone to give me critical feedback? I'm the best. I'm perfect, right? Or, I'm on this podcast, right? I wrote a book once. Everyone, I love the shirt, hug dealer. Do you know that I'm an author? Self-published. It's like, just what? So meaning I have to be able to handle the feedback. If I'm giving you feedback of something I think it could improve, I better be able to handle the feedback that I get back. And if you don't feel safe to share it with me, I haven't created that leadership haven't created that environment where, and this is the worst part, you might be so correct about what you think of me. I might react so quickly, I can't even control it. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time apologizing. Like I've become a great apologizer because that's like all I can do at this point, letting people down so much in how I behave. So I would say it's got to, I'm imperfect. I'm not walking a straight line. I'm not doing all of this because I have it figured out. I'm doing all of this because I need to figure it out. And I have yet to meet any person of standing that wasn't working on figuring it out. And it's some, so, and they may not be aware. I mean, awareness is on a spectrum. So depending on what they're doing with their lives, because we can do all sorts of things to not think about what we're actually up to. Right? How many drinks have I had today? Only 5 before the podcast. Or obviously I've been drinking years, but you talk to somebody, oh, I only drink every night. I'm okay. And I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at them. I'm crying for me. So, if you want to have a lighter conversation, we could do that too, by the way. I'll have to think it heavy again, I think, because it's that time of day, baby. Yeah, those are some fleeting thoughts, though. I mean, practicing, listening, being more vulnerable. Okay, if I'm asking you what you think I can improve on, that's an action of vulnerability. I don't want your actual opinion of what I can improve on, because then that means I might have to change my behavior, and then I'm not perfect. I mean, I'm the one with the title. Haven't you seen my book?
There it is.
Haven't you seen my book?
Like a celebrity.
Yeah, I am an authority, an author. It's like
thought.
No, I wrote some thoughts that may or may not have value that was published, even if it was through an institution, it likely was pay to play. So, yeah, I think it's important to have feedback both ways. It's also probably not, it can break down. Like in times of crisis, you can't get everybody's opinion, right? You'll go out of business. How do we get everybody's opinion?
No, I mean, you're right. In times of crisis, you got to be more, commander's intent, just get the opinions
It
of
should
the
be like that all the time, though. Why do you have to wait till a time of crisis? Why can't you always act like that? I think you should.
Well, I mean, how much time do you have to walk around and ask everybody what they think? Right? I mean, you could. But usually it's not, you don't have to use the word crisis, but usually there's a catalyst to getting feedback from someone. Even just take a friendship or a marriage. Like sometimes that feedback's just sitting there waiting to be given, but it takes a catalyst. It takes an argument or conflict to bring about the honesty and the feedback. For some people, that's where they get their courage in the heat of the conflict, and then they're going to say how they really feel. Not necessarily crisis, but I want to go back to something you said about the courage it takes to give people feedback, but also the unintentional asshole. I think that when we come to terms with ourselves as an asshole, right? When we realize that we are all assholes and I'm no different, that was an important revelation for me to know. Like you said, that I'm not perfect. Like you want to be perfect, but you literally have to just come to terms with the fact that yes, I am as imperfect as it gets, and give yourself grace for being imperfect. But then the next step of being generous with the graciousness of other people who are also not perfect, I think that it created a lot of peace in my life.
Really?
Because I was no longer being hypercritical of myself, just accepting my imperfections, but then at the same time accepting other people's imperfections. And a lot of conflict went away, internal conflict and external conflict. I mean, Joe, for instance, he's an asshole. And I let that go years ago.
That's true.
What do you think, Joe?
Well, lucky for me, we
You
don't know.
talked the other day, right, Joe?
Kenny is
Ken,
definitely
I want
a
to be
lover.
clear. My recommendation, my recommendation was. Sorry.
Yeah, a long history of that, doesn't he?
My recommendation was in private, by the way, not in front of 10,000 people. 10,000 people.
Let me write that one down. I forgot that.
Millions are listening to this. I want to add something to get your guys' feedback on. Disengagement from leadership creates a lot of problems. Like there's a time for work and there's a time for play. There's a time for rest. Joe brought up times of crisis. Like when there's crisis, industry crisis, company crisis, we need our leaders to be bought in. Meaning, and it's not going to be a talking thing. It's going to be a showing thing. And not everybody's bought in. And there could be seasons, like there could be a season where I'm not bought in anymore. Something is a higher priority. Maybe it's a newborn. Maybe it's liquidating a stock that now, the financial situation's different. And there isn't somebody running after me in a gorilla suit chasing me for credit card payments. Little Freudian slip there. So, but there's consequence. This is where I'm going. There's consequences. We have people. Our customers are relying on us. Our employees are relying on us. They need to believe, and we're. So the lack of engagement has consequences. My confidence is higher when I'm engaged. When I'm, it's all right. I said I would be here at this time for you guys. Here we are. We're talking about this. Next meeting is at 5:15. Then I'm doing this. I didn't want to get up this morning, but I wind my way up to the Celsius that I drank to get that first meeting going at 7. So engagement, I think, plays a role in all this conversation. With saying no and saying yes, having boundaries, asking, if I really feel like I'm putting it all on the table, I should be able to ask. I should be able to ask. I shouldn't feel so attacked. Like I should be able to give. I'm not operating from a reactive, scarce psychology. But it's seasonal. Like I might just have had people listen to this may have just had their best years in business, and that influenced their behavior. And then the macroeconomics changed, and now they need new behavior, and they're revving up the engine, and they forgot how to rev it up. Like, so those are some thoughts. Like engagement has a consequence, positive, negative, on the company, on the business, the family, whatever. Relationship, podcast, like you guys are doing so many you're recording so many episodes. Engagement. We're releasing more now than ever, and we're seeing the numbers going up in downloads and all that. So engagement has consequences. I'm not trying to make a moral claim. At least I'm not. I don't think I am. I may be. At some level, I likely am as a result of me feeling proud that I'm engaged. So, it's all just a bunch of mental masturbation at this point.
Joe, on that note, go back to COVID. In your business, during the time you were doing a lot of reputation management with the restaurants, and you were in retail, that you were Shore Sites was doing a lot of work with retail, and they, of all of the industries that you would say really got hit the most, the companies that you were serving at the time, they really got impacted, and especially even more so in your state. And if you view yourself, and I do believe that a business owner is a leader, whether they have a huge company or they just have a lot of customers, they're leading in a lot of ways. And in your case, how did you utilize engagement in that time of crisis for your customers who basically were looking around like, what are we going to do? Like, this is horrible. Like, this is a crisis. How did you approach that? And did you find yourself more engaged with your customers during that time than ever before?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the benefits actually of having customer like nationwide customers and all different verticals and things like that was we were able to really just like, for lack of a better term, like crowdsource solutions. So, I really did reach out to everybody because, whether I wanted to or not, they're like, what is going on? Because, a lot of the stuff that we do is the lifeblood, especially for service industries. People who are looking for plumbers or personal injury attorney, whatever, they go online. And so once that dries up, they're like, dude, no one's called. We can't go out to houses. We can't do this. What do we do? And so I was like, well, I have a guy in New York that's doing this. And I don't know if it's going to work in Florida, but it worked for our guy in Texas. So try this. And then they try this. They're like, we tried this. So it was cool because I was getting feedback of what's working, what's not working across the country in different, verticals and things that I was able to then communicate to all of our customers and, get really almost instantaneous feedback on some ideas or thoughts of, what was keeping the businesses afloat at that time. And actually what some of the businesses didn't make it. And a lot of them went from doing okay to absolutely exponentially crushing their markets. And it's the guys who weren't scared during COVID and kind of leaned into it and doubled down on their investment and their business and their marketing and things like that. And if you recall, like nobody knew how long that was going to last or whatever, but certainly you could predict that it wasn't going to last forever and everything was going to eventually come back. So the guys who had the balls to like step it up, when it came back, I mean, they're on side. They've crushed the market. They gained so much market share because they trusted the fact that, lean into your business when times are bad. So that was the biggest takeaway that I got. But everything that we were just talked about previous to this, and I think there's too many words. I think people just talk about shit too much, and it becomes almost like not even useful because we start talking about feelings and this and that and whatever. No offense, Jay, culture matters, but the whole thing is so there's all these acronyms for like accountability, measurement, and improvement, whether it's like personally, business-wise, or whatever. Like if you're like in World War II, they called it like OODA loop, like the fighter pilots. And like some of them call it like SIPD or like scan, predict, interpret, decide, execute. So these like full loop decision-making acronyms where you assess the situation in front of you. You basically predict what you think is going to happen. You decide how you're going to approach it, and then you execute on that. Interpretation is in their eyes in there. So then you execute. And once you execute, then you reevaluate and you start the process over and over and over. So like that's where it is when you're asking for people's opinions and feelings and all that kind of shit. It doesn't matter. Like if you are in a crisis situation, you should be doing this at a higher frequency, but you should be doing this at a higher frequency all the time. And one of the common threads that we've seen with people that we've had on and other really successful business owners and entrepreneurs that I know, that it's unfortunate, but a lot of them have a common thread that they went through some sort of tragedy in their life that heightened this spidey sense of like, shit, like this is what's important. this is how I have to do this. This is why I do this. And it puts that stress on them that then draws out like this really efficient way to just navigate through bullshit and kind of do that. But the problem is, like, you don't want a tragedy to bring that out of you. So there are things that you can do if you have these mechanisms in your mind. Is like, okay, I'm going to scan, I'm going to predict or interpret, decide, execute everything that you do, whether it's business or whatever, that when you just get that into your mantra of every day, you do it naturally. Then you're like, your opinion of other people or like how people are giving you feedback and things like that, that all goes into the interpret, it goes into the scan, it goes into every step of that. So, getting back to your question of COVID, that heightened it. It's like, all right, shit. Like, okay, what are we looking at? What's happening right now? What do we think's going to happen? Okay, this is what we predict. Now we're going to execute on this prediction, and then we're going to decide, and we're going to start the circle again. So that's how it kind of came through. And I haven't stopped doing that. Like, I do that every single day. I reevaluate everything I did during the day. In everything in my personal life, my fitness, when I train for fights, everything. So it all is that circle of decision making and interpretation. So.
Jay, and yes, I agree, Joe, with a lot of what you said. But I think, Jay, I mean, what I heard was, first of all, it takes a willingness to be engaged as a leader, right? Like, that's number one. Like, you can't even help anybody unless you're present. And engagement in two ways is important if you want the credibility to be able to make quick decisions and expect people to follow. But also, engagement is also contagious, and enthusiasm is part of engagement, is contagious. Like you said, these seasons, like, yes, there are times where, like, maybe you just kind of don't feel like doing certain things. And when you find yourself in that place, whether you meant to find yourself there or not, you start to see like a kind of a dissipation of energy, where that is no longer, certain things are no longer important to not just you, but the people around you that it was important, for a while. Is that okay? Is it okay to be kind of enthusiastic about stuff sometimes and let it ebb and flow and move with the seasons? Are we as podcast hosts obligated to maintain that high level of buy-in and engagement at all times? How do you hold yourself to that level of accountability with Culture Matters?
No, it's not okay.
What, Joe? Yeah.
All right.
It's not okay. I'm going to just say this. I'll let you answer because I don't want to.
Yeah, I want to know what you think.
Near and dear to my heart that I'll just take a workout analogy. If you worked out every time that you were excited or inspired to work out, you'd probably never work out. So it is where it's discipline and it's routine takes over when inspiration goes away. So when you set up the structure and you have the discipline and you have a routine in place, then that will carry you through and make you consistent with anything that you do. So I tell my kids, they get up, they train every morning at 6, and I tell them, there are days where you're going to hate this, right? And those are the best days. Like, those are the days you'll get the most out of it. But your success is a collection of little grains of sand. Like, you're not going to see results day 1. You're not probably going to see results day 10. You're going to see results over time. And you can you can do things a positive or negative. Just keep it very simple, like binary. If you add up negatives by the end of this, however long time period, you're going to look back, you're going to get a negative result. If you add up positives over that time period, you're going to have a positive result. But you can't do it when you feel like doing it. You have to use discipline and routine every day to do the same thing to get the result. And it doesn't have anything to do with talent, skills, intelligence, anything. It just has to do with consistency. And it's no matter what. You could be the worst at something, but if you do it consistently, whether you want to or not, you're going to get the end result if you're adding up positives throughout that process. And it's that simple. There's no trick to it. It's just consistency and discipline. You can do anything in the world. So that's my 2 cents.
Jay?
I wrote down responsibility is all that's there when there's no accountability. So if I am in control, I'm the absolute authority of the business. It's not a public company. I'm not working for shareholders. I'm not accountable to a board of directors. And I don't feel like doing it that day. To Joe's point, well, then what happens? I don't have to do it. Who am I accountable to? My mom's not calling me and telling me to get out of bed. So responsibility is all that's there when there's no accountability. So that person that's in complete control over the destiny of the service of the customers, the employees' upward mobility, their ability to get raises and make more money and provide for their families, that has a relationship with whoever is in control of the company's fate, which would be the ownership. And that's my question. If and who are they accountable to? Well, they're accountable to the bank, the bank. They're accountable to their bank account, and there's a distinction, right? The bank would be the loans. The bank account would be how much money is in there. We're accountable, if we're in ownership, to the market. But you might not see for a long time the irresponsibility. You may not see it for a year. You may not see. So, to Joe's point,
Look at people who smoke.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Look at people who smoke. Smokers. You don't die when you smoke your first cigarette. You probably won't die when you smoke your second cigarette. But ultimately, over time, it gets you. It's everything. So these are very little, things that add up. It's like compounding interest, and like that's how I've shifted like my whole thinking about it. It's you're hitting it right on the head. It's not one thing. It's a butterfly effect.
But in the defense of the listeners and us, really, we're all customers of this culture right now, this business culture. Everything I read, like I get influenced by on the internet as it relates to business, is telling me that I should feel, even if it's not saying it explicitly, like the narrative is I should feel less than if I'm working, period. I should, as a business owner, have this unbelievable machine that prints money. And I would argue that culture creates disengaged leaders. Disengaged, if I can't run my company from my yacht, or if I can't work, from home, but it's not, I don't think it's true. I think it's a half truth. Like there's some truth, but ultimately that narrative that I see in all the business books and things like passive, this, that, I think it's undoing responsibility. And, who are we accountable to? And then of course we'll be accountable to our people relative to how well we can hear them. So maybe our people aren't telling us what they think. The people that work for us. Maybe our customers aren't telling us that they're not satisfied with the service. Or maybe we send out the survey, but we don't read the survey.
The reality, I think, I just heard this recently too, and the reality is most business owners, most entrepreneurs, probably 90% of them, they would do better with just a regular job. And the reason why I say that is if you're an entrepreneur and you are running a business, then this business should provide for you two things. And if it doesn't provide both, go get a regular job. Number one is financial freedom, more money than you could get if you had a regular job. And number two, it should provide you actual freedom, the time to spend doing things with your family, or like what you would want to do above and beyond if you had a regular job. And if you don't have those two things, which I truly believe probably only 5% of entrepreneurs have figured that out and do, then you should just get a regular job, because it's not worth it. Like all the headaches, everything that we're talking about that having to do with working in a business and running a business, it's not worth it when you can just make probably the same amount of money and turn your brain off at 5 o'clock and let, other people worry about it. So that's that's where it's like, are we talking about the masses, people who are like 90% of business owners or leaders and so forth, where like you're doing it for the wrong reasons? Or is it the 10% who have it figured out? That's the difference in my opinion. It's like,
I would say that it's a paradox, because with the actual freedom, it's like the pursuit of happiness. It's a pursuit. It's actually not about happiness whatsoever. It's about output. This is the most efficient output mechanism for human cattle. Pursuit of happiness, it's pursuit. It's not the happiness factor. It's the pursuit. So like the pursuit of financial freedom is, achieved through, it's really a feeling of independence, and it's a complete and utter slavery to the labor of, being the person ultimately in control of the fate of the institution. Like, and this is the thing, if the person does get away, there's consequences. There will be a coup. There will be a hostile takeover. There will be, like, in the absence of the person, there will be some movement, because, everybody's vying for the same thing that isn't real. It's only psychologically real. It's the pursuit. So I challenge people to just think, maybe lean into the discomforts and the things that, like, a lot of the time, the journey sucks because we suck with the journey. We don't want to have that conversation with the person that we need to have it with. We don't want to fire the person that's, killing half the company's values. We don't want to call that client back because, if we call them, we're not sure how to have the conversation, or, we could lose the company if we call them, or, we don't want to work like we did in the beginning, because we have other priorities, and that's all fine. That's all well and good. My point in this part is there are consequences to it, and not every business. Well, that's the other thing too, because the business's function is, the business exists to serve a customer, and a business has to grow in perpetuity to fulfill its function. But it doesn't have to do anything. It'll do whatever. It'll adapt to the behaviors of those that control its fate. Right? That would be the ownership structure. It will adapt to the relationships, the resources, and the reasons that the founding members give it. And ultimately, like, these businesses that we have are our own self-creations. And they're, it's so we'll get out of it what we think we want, but kind of where I don't believe in I don't believe in any freedom, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is I think it's a state of mind more than is an actual let's say happenstance, and there are consequences to, let's say that it's like a solar system. You have the sun, and then you have Earth, and you have Mars, and you have Pluto. The closer the matter is to the power source, the hotter it is. I'm like too much in my business. I'm not giving people space to perform their daily functions, to rise up and really grow into their own person through the business. So I'm not letting enough space happen between myself as the originating, job description and this new hire that's now taking that job description. Then you have the other side of it. There's enough people where I could kind of check out for my business and not be leading my business under the guise that I am leading my business because my name is on the business or I'm writing the checks. That's like Pluto. It's too far away from the sun. And now there won't be life on that planet either. There's not going to be life on Pluto and there's not going to be life on Mars, but there will be life on Earth. And if we are happy slaves to the pursuit of happiness and business, we'll have enough Earths. Now, what happens when we have Earth is that humans eventually evolve and they create technology to create ships to go to other solar systems and inhabit other planets with other stuff.
Kenny, you can tell them what planet you're going to be hanging out on.
And that's Berkshire. That's like, that's like Berkshire Hathaway. That's like one of these giant conglomerates that they own this and they own that and they own that. So at the end of the day, we're all dead. Who the fuck cares anyway? And this is just a fun conversation.
Well, I like the analogy of the sun, the source of gravity. Without it, the planets aren't there anymore. I think that's another really important part of it. But you know what? In our next conversation, I do listen. I like the juxtaposition between full freedom and responsibility because you can't have freedom without responsibility, and sometimes taking too much responsibility infringes on your free to do whatever the hell you want whenever you want. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in our next.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I mean, because if we're not as disciplined as Joe, the people will rise up and they will kill us
or take over.
That's true.
You see at companies the best, and by the way, that's okay too, because in a culture, a great culture is okay with people leaving. Because it's not a cult, where they go and try to kill everybody in your family if you leave North Korea. It's an inevitability that some of the best employees that I ever have are going to leave me and create something better than I've created. It's an inevitability. So, how I navigate that is going to reflect my values, and I would argue have an impact on how innovative am I actually today or in the future? So, and anyway, so that's, if we can unpack that some other time, it'd be fun. It's all just philosophizing anyway.
Jay, you got a 515 that I want to honor. So, Joe, what were the three things? Which one was the lie?
You're gonna have to reread them back to me because the first one cut off when you guys froze.
Oh, I think it was. This is a great intro. Pluto is my favorite planet, and I love my wife.
Okay, well, we know what your favorite planet is. Wait. It also happens to be where Kenny hangs out a lot as well. So you mentioned you just got married, so I'm guessing that you love your wife, and I will concede that was not a great intro that we gave. So we're going to go with number one.
Well, Pluto's not a planet anymore, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, you said it wasn't.
There you go. Planet. See, technicality. There was another guy that did a technicality. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head.
Wow.
Dude, this was fun, man. It always is fun. Joe, you did great today. Check your Wi-Fi though. A little spotty in times, but I think that if anyone's still listening, who the hell cares, right?
We're doing this for us.
All right, guys. I'll let you guys roll, and we'll see you next time where we got you on, Jay.
Yeah, I would love it.
Sir.